My name is Dr. Kim Bird-Ryder, and this is Dr. Nandini Katra. And we're going to talk about the placebo effect today. So first, Dr. Katra, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and quantum physics.
Well, my background as an undergraduate was physics, chemistry, and mathematics, but then finally did my major was chemistry and the minor was physics. And then for my master's, again, it was biophysics and biochemistry. And then for my PhD, it was mostly biophysics with some biochemistry. It's very integrated, both those fields.
Why were you so drawn to physics?
Well, I think part of it was I was always interested in science, and physics is kind of the main thing in high school. We all learned physics. Chemistry is a little, at least in India, chemistry was because of the chemicals and all that. We didn't have too much of chemistry, mostly physics. And my father was a physicist, so we would talk about physics all the time.
I say when your family participates, it always makes
Yeah, it always
sense,
makes a
doesn't it?
difference. And then one of my favorite professor was the physics teacher.
There you go.
Two
And then you're
two
inspired.
favorite professors was one was the physics person and the other was an artist. He taught us art, and I got involved in drawing and painting as well
So you
because
developed
of
your
that.
creative mind too. Well, science is creative, isn't it?
So
Like,
that's how that started, and then so that's how I came to physics. But my father made an influence on the spiritual dimension too, because we used to talk about science and spirituality growing up there. So
and that is
when
why
I
you
got,
are the perfect fit for this interview and for this little series that I do. It's called Physics and the Jedi because there's this science component, and I call it the Jedi, but that's the spirituality component.
Mhm.
And they're intermingling, and there is a fit. Even Einstein said there's a fit between the two. So, and that's why we're taking a look at the placebo effect, which that's psychology, more psychology. But I wanted to take a look at hard science and what
Mhm.
hard science has to say about psychology, because psychology doesn't really have an explanation for the placebo effect. But the placebo effect is so important that the pharmaceutical companies are using it as a measuring bar for their pharmaceuticals. Like
Mhm.
if their pharmaceutical can reach as valid the validity of the placebo effect, if it can get above it, they keep it. If it can't make it to the equivalent um, results of a placebo effect, they get rid of it. So it's like a measuring bar for pharmaceuticals. It's that important. It's somewhere between 32 to 38% of every positive result we get in the medical field is due to a placebo effect. It's super strong and we don't know
Mhm.
what it is. But let me tell you what psychology, what their definition of it has come to finally at Stanford. And they say it's the body's natural healing ability plus an improved mindset plus positive social context. There's a social context component that goes into it, like the doctor that gave it to you and how they gave it to you and whether they gave it to you through intravenously or in a pill. It can be
Mhm.
stronger if they give it to you through a needle rather than as a pill. I mean, and that's what I mean by social context. And whether the doctor is nice to you and you like that doctor, the placebo effect gets stronger. And that's the social component context. But Dr. Nandini, what do you think about that definition?
I think all of that makes sense because I think the mindset is very critical. I would 100% agree with that. And then the social context is also very important. One of the things in my spiritual journey, we talk about the ecosystem that is around us. That's very critical to how we progress in our spiritual journey. So, all of those are, I think, important. And in terms of the hard science, I think it's applicable in a couple of ways, and I'll share that with you. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
Oh, okay. So one of the things that is a scientific fact is that our body is constantly rejuvenating. Our cells are constantly being replaced. Our body is a rejuvenating system. And so that means everything is being changed. There is nothing, we are not stuck in anything. So we are basically, the body is healing itself constantly. So then why is it that we don't have a sense of that? Because we, rather than appreciate that our body is constantly healing and we are that dynamic system, we are instead allowing our mind to build our body by the beliefs, by the thoughts, what the mindset as you were talking about. So our body is really built by the mind rather than recognizing that we are that body that keeps rejuvenating. And in that is the ability to heal ourselves. That innate intelligence is already, that software has been already put into our system. And that, we are constantly rejuvenating. So it's a dynamic process. At the same time, the mind itself is not a machine. It's not just, a mechanical and a biological mechanical machine with all the different parts of the brain interacting and giving some set things. The mind itself is dynamic and it's a process. So if you look at that, if you look at that constant dynamic nature of the body and mind, you realize that you do have the ability to set those standards, those what you think your body is, who you are, based on the ability to heal yourself. So the whole healing comes to a different parameter that you somehow are in control. You can interact with your body. You can connect with that innate intelligence and help with healing.
And
So,
physics shows that.
pardon?
And physics shows that. Are you seeing that in physics?
Okay, what you're seeing in the biophysics is a interconnection, that the body is connected completely, the networks of connection. Our whole body is connected. It's not acting as a separate, each organ is not separate. They're all connected. They are in constant communication.
You
So
mean
then,
the organ systems between each other, including the
yes,
system?
yes. So actually that is a very popular field now, systems biology. And that's a way of mathematically looking at the connectivity of all different parts of the body, everything, how it's
So how are they
connected,
using?
how energy fields are generated, all
Well,
of
how
it.
are they using systems biology?
In order to really see what the connections are, how energy is, depending on what you want. A lot of people, if you're looking at proteins, you're looking at the connectivity of proteins in their function, how they fold, what causes a dysfunction. And you're looking at the mapping, the mathematical models are based on actual data. So you're connecting actual data with the mathematical modeling, and you're coming up with the ways of looking at these networks. So be it proteins, be it energy fields, be it immunology, emotions, all kinds of things. I've been looking mostly at the generation of energy fields and the connection of proteins and the various cellular things. So that's one of the courses I'm teaching now, biofield, on
What is the name of
biofields.
what's the exact name of the course?
It says it's called biofields. Uh,
Biofields. And that's
scientific,
at the California
scientific,
Institute of
yeah,
Health Science, Human Sciences.
CIHS, yes.
Mhm.
It's called biofields, scientific and philosophical concepts.
Now, how do the energy fields play a role in maybe the placebo effect or other things going on in our bodies?
Well, the placebo effect, I think, is more the recognition of your what you think of your body and your mind, the mindset, like you were talking about. And I saw the videos as well that you sent.
Oh, good.
So I think the mindset is the key. If we look at the mind as a machine that is set in no- in specific maybe just doing its business and nothing else, or we look at certain things just doing its business, not appreciating the dynamic connectivity of the system, we may be locked into not being able to change our mindset. And you see it as more of an open system rather than a defined closed system.
And how do the energy fields play a role in that?
In what? In
In the
placebo
minds,
effect?
in the mindset. If
Mindset.
the mindset is a key factor in the placebo effect, how do the energy systems play a role in the mindset?
See, the energy fields, the way I look at it is it's the field that is shows is it's always there supporting whatever is going on. It's a form of support of the body, the energy and matters. That's why you were talking about quantum physics.
Mm-hmm.
And what quantum physics has shown is that the connection between energy and matter, you probably are familiar with that, right?
No, go ahead and explain it to us.
So that relationship of energy and matter, what quantum physics showed was that particles are both as matter or particular, or are as energy. They have both the matter and energy ability to be both matter, and it's not non-duality. It really, and more of the research has shown that the particles actually exist as energy, and they only collapse as particles due to observation or the capture of particles. So the whole particle research has shown, in fact, it's because, and the other thing they've shown is that they're entangled. Quantum entangled means the particles are connected at all times. So the only way you can do remote connection is if it's an energy, because the energy has low limits, no dimensions, and not stuck in any kind of way as matter is. So the whole concept of quantum entanglement of particles has actually allowed all of these devices to come about, because the particles are always connected. So then what does it mean, quantum entanglement, to we are all, a collection of particles. So what does it mean to life itself, to humans especially? Because for all of the other life that goes is there, that innate intelligence is already in operation, and that's what goes. But humans are different. We have the ability to disconnect with our innate intelligence and create a different mindset, lose our innocence as we grow up, and take on somebody else's personality or somebody else's thought rather than our.
Or
See,
even
that's where,
society's idea
yeah,
of what we should
societies.
be.
So that's what makes humans special in terms of,
Or messed up, one way or the
yes.
other.
So then we have to relearn that we really are quantum beings. For going back, so then hard science is showing you, especially systems biology and things like that, which though are mathematical, but even quantum entanglement, the whole Schrodinger's equation of the collapse of the wave to a particle, to the material, it's a mathematical um, algorithm of that energy into matter. But what that shows is that the existence of matter itself is in the realm of probabilities and possibilities. So then that
There's some
opens
potential
up.
that it's not real. Is that what you're
That's a question each of us has to ask. I can't answer that question for you. You have to ask that question yourself.
saying?
So, but what is interesting is if it's all probabilities and possibilities, and you cognize it, then the mind itself, there are no limits. There's a realm of possibilities that opens up your entire mind. That's a possibility of opening up your entire mind into
Talk about
something
change of
else.
mindset. That's a change of mindset.
Yes, exactly.
That all possibilities
Yes,
are
exists.
possible.
And that is what, to me, quantum entanglement is about. And Schrodinger's equation is showing that.
And I think that's the placebo effect too, isn't it? I mean, if somebody
Eventually,
gives,
it'll be that. You're right.
if
If
somebody
your
gives me a
mindset,
pill, it
right?
opens up my possibility in my head
Yes,
of what could happen after this surgery or what could happen after I take this pill. I've
yes,
changed the possibility.
yes,
So it could be the quantum physics entanglement theory.
yes. That's what I feel. Not everybody agrees with me necessarily, but I feel strongly about this.
I like that.
And that's why I put quantum entanglement in every course I teach. Because then it ultimately connects to what you said, the whole spiritual dimension. If you accept quantum entanglement, that entanglement is that oneness, that super consciousness. So then that whole moving to spirituality that's the conduit from hard science to spirituality.
And the entanglement theory, correct me, was that Einstein who did that?
No, it wasn't Einstein.
Was it?
There are different scientists. Schrodinger was the one who came up with that Schrodinger's wave equation. But
Okay.
Max Planck was there, Heisenberg. Those were the key people.
It's a very famous theory, very famous.
Yes,
And so if anyone's watching this that wants to find out more, I mean, YouTube is full of,
yes, yeah,
physics,
yes.
physics professors talking about this subject. This is it.
Yeah, there's actually I found a really good video of quantum mechanics, which shows all of what incorrect understanding,
Ah,
which quantum mechanics actually shifts.
what's it called? Is it on YouTube?
It is on YouTube, but I have to, I have the link. I'll find the link and I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, those are always fun to watch. Well, here's another question. This is getting good. What is the difference between quantum physics and the spirit? We're talking so we've matched the placebo with quantum physics. The entanglement theory explains what goes on in the mind, the change of the mindset for the placebo effect to occur. Now, what role is the spirit in all of this? Is the spirit the same thing as the entanglement theory, or how do you see that?
So, what do you mean by spirit?
Like that piece of that authentic self that we all experience, that the observer, the piece, the divinity within
Witnessing
us.
consciousness.
Pardon?
The witnessing consciousness.
Yes, let's call it the witnessing consciousness. I like that.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So
Where does
what
that fit in this?
the witnessing consciousness is really the only way you can make that a reality in your cognition, embody that. Otherwise, it's just talk and articles and knowledge. To connect, to move, shift from knowledge to wisdom, you have to embody that understanding. And I think witnessing consciousness is the way to embody, to move into where it becomes part of you.
So the role that it plays in this definition is it is the thing that changes the mindset, or it's projecting the mindset. How would you say that?
What is projecting the mindset?
The 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 spirit or the witnessing consciousness. The consciousness is the thing that changes the mindset, yes? Or no? This gets really deep, doesn't it?
Yeah, the mindset, I think, once you understand that your body is dynamic, it's not set in stone as one thing, and you are allow that break through your, one of the ways to break through your limitations is whenever a limiting thought or a negative emotion or any of these things come by, you are the witnessing, you're observing yourself.
Hmm.
It's the inquiry, self-inquiry. You're basically keeping track of all your thoughts, keeping track of all your emotions. That is a process in itself, and that's an ongoing process.
Is it part of the biosystems that we talked about earlier?
The the biosystems,
Or is
the
that separate?
network, yes, all. So you, the scientific fact is that we are all, the body is connected and it operates at a quantum level. So we are quantum beings. And the reason I'm saying that is all the processes of regenerating the cells, making these communications between everything is happening practically instantaneously. There are around 1,000 enzymes making um, reactions using substrates all the time. And each cell, there are, it's, they're doing things right away. There is no measurable time in which everything is going on. Everything is happening at a level that is in that quantum state, and that's what our body. I mean, that is life itself. All of life is that already designed, a cosmic design that is probably the greatest. And humans are just at a level to appreciate that design and to live in peace and happiness.
Now, how do you think all this is going to affect medicine once this information gets into the medical field and really gets absorbed into it, and we start to develop tools around it that we can use in the medical field? How do
But
you?
there's already, the Ayurvedic medicine has been there for thousands of years.
Right.
And that is exactly that approach
Ah.
of where is looking at the system, your whole system, the patient as a whole, and figuring out where are the imbalances that are happening. And that combined with the spiritual education is what creates a healthy society. So shifting to a more holistic way of looking at medicine, I think, is really the way it needs to go.
And so a holistic view of medicine, would that be more of looking at all the biosystems and how they work together, and then the entanglement theories of how energy plays a role in it as well?
Well, all that is what I would say research. You're getting some information, but application of the research is really the medicine, right? So the medicine part of it is the ability of the practitioner to know the system well enough to know how energetically it's built and what causes the imbalance. What are the how do you sense? Some people are intuitive. Some people with the pulse. You can just by measuring pulse, you know exactly what the person needs.
Mhm.
And others, may have to look at heart or whatever. But to be able to know how, uh, see, a lot of the recent, I mean, in the last, um, I would say the last few centuries, Ayurveda has been used more in terms of how people have been developing over the last several centuries, which is not really the basis where in India the the Ayurvedic doctors were so powerful. They could fix bones and things like that through herbal thing. I mean, there was a lot of amazing knowledge that the doctors had in those days, which is really a
How old
long
is
time ago.
Ayurvedic medicine?
I
I know
think
it's hard.
somewhere the Vedas themselves are around at least 5,000 or maybe more.
Yeah, I thought it was thousands of years old. I was gonna, it's at least hundreds of years old, if not thousands, but it's thousands.
So the Vedas, actually, the way they came about is there were Vedas written for all aspects of human existence, for medicine, for spirituality, to how to interact with one another, how to build things, how to have agriculture sustainably, all of that. Every aspect of what how we live on earth and the things, they were there. There were Vedas, scriptures describing various things, how to interact with earth, what rocks and what to use to build. um, you know, there are temples which are amazingly high and built before anybody even had any engineering technology.
Yeah, now how did they do all of this without science and technology and
But
research?
there's
And
Vedic science. They
well, they
developed a
did their
Vedic
science.
science. There is scientific, there is a whole lot of scientific literature in Sanskrit. There's a lot of it. But over because of the historical drama of colonization, and before that, aggressive infiltration into India, a lot of things got destroyed. In
Mhm.
fact, the uh, the university in Nalanda had the largest library in the entire world. It had books on everything you could imagine. When the
Wow,
Muslims invaded, they burnt that whole university. And there was another university, Tatsila, which is also was very good. Nalanda had the largest library on everything. They burnt it, and the other one also, I think, got burnt. And
that's
the temples
awful.
were destroyed. A lot of the material, in fact, even some of the Buddhist documents that were destroyed in Sanskrit, fortunately, they were translated in Pali and were there, I think, um, in in Myanmar.
They
They were
found
there,
them.
some of them, and but some I don't know where they were. People hid some documents and things like that. So a
That
lot
must.
of that knowledge, the science got destroyed because of the barbaric nature of.
But the traditions are still there. It's just the science and the research that got destroyed. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the traditions eventually also have been eroded a lot,
How so?
unfortunately, yes, because the um, the rise of Western science actually um, created. I think part of it was the colonization by the British, where they undermined the innate system and introduced the the Western system of education. In fact, that was a big transition um, in the 1800. I think it was 18. Forget it was 1835 or something like in that period. There's a lot of documentation of that. There was this guy who was the head there. His name was Macaulay, and he found that the Indians are living very happily. He went around India to explore different
Mhm.
parts of India, and he found that in most part they were all living very happy lives, contented lives. And he felt that the Brits wouldn't have an influence over dominating them unless they changed their lifestyle of the Indians. So they introduced the Western education system. They forced that on the Indians, And in some places, they were very successful in changing it. So when that changed,
It
that
was
was
gone.
the, mm,
The traditions would be gone
that
once you
the
flip
same
a
thing
culture.
happened. It happened in the Americas, in New
Hmm.
Zealand, Australia, everywhere they went. And in we know for sure the Spanish burnt a lot of the books that the Mayan civilization had come together. A lot of things were burnt. The Portuguese, when they invaded the western coast, my ancestors came from that area. They literally either killed everybody or they burnt everything, destroyed the temples.
And then it's
So,
gone.
yes.
Well, would you say the Ayurvedic medicine incorporates the values of I'm calling it the placebo effect, but it's really a mindset, an expansive mindset of change and difference, social context, and of course the body's natural ability. Do you think Ayurvedic uses that to its fullest potential as opposed to allopathic medicine or Western medicine?
See, your question itself is is based on how the situation in the world is now, or in the last few centuries. When Ayurveda, you have to realize when Ayurveda was and the Vedas were written, people were, their schooling itself from day one, they learnt about the innate intelligence, about what are the spiritual, their teachings were started with the concept of oneness and spirituality. The mindset was already there. They didn't need to change their mindset. The mindset was already accepting the self, and that's how they were trained. Certainly the different professions were there. People took different professions, but basics teaching to youngsters was already that holistic mindset of oneness.
And the possibilities.
Yes, exactly. So that's how people were taught. So the burden of changing it from having these limited things was not there. But a lot of things are, we have in all the humans, it's not a one-sided thing. We always bring in other stuff. So the issues of conflict and questions grew out of it. I mean, in humanity, it's not to say that there was this perfect age that lasted for a long time. There
Mhm.
is no such thing, because curious, we can think of everything. We can think of something that is very positive, but we can also think of something that's negative. We can look at something aggressively, get angry. Our emotions are there as part of our structure itself. So I don't mean to say that it was paradise eternally.
Well, it's very accepting of what we're talking about, like this placebo effect thing, where we're really able to change our bodies through our minds as opposed to pharmaceuticals. I mean, it does
Yes.
as good a job as a pharmaceutical. So, how are we going to do that at this point? Do we have to change culturally? Because, like you said, the children of that time were raised in it. It was part of their culture. They accepted it from day one, they were taught to accept it. We don't accept it anymore. We have to have proof and foundation and a pill.
You're
We have to
right.
have a pill or we won't buy into it. But now, how are we going to flip our mindset? Are we just really going to have to? Well, how do
Yeah,
you
but
think
I
that's going
think
to
the
happen?
science is there. We just have to look at the science. They're like quantum entanglement. A lot of people would not even think of connecting it to consciousness because they don't think that consciousness exists only in the mind. There's
Mhm.
no such thing as, um, cosmic consciousness, super consciousness, and all of that. So
So
with
do you
people
think we
like
can
that,
change what we think is kind of magic? You know, the placebo seems a little magical to a lot of people, or mythical, however you want to say that. So do you think we can do that just through science, through proof? I
see,
would like
in a
to
lot
think
of
so.
cases, people don't believe it unless they themselves experience it. So it can't be verbally taught. You have to either experience it or personally, or experience somebody actually radiating that healthy energy, radiating a beauty that you say, aha, I'd like to be that too. How do I do that? So that's why the journey is really each one of us. It's our self discovery. It's only as more people embark on the journey and actually are that transformative power, more people are going to join in. Otherwise, you can't really change anyone else or anyone else's mindset.
I
It
agree with
has
you
to be through an
100%.
experience or actually seeing somebody being healed in front of them, saying,
Yes.
wow, this person has healed. Maybe I need to find out more about this.
Maybe, and then the possibility becomes possible because
Yes,
you just
exactly.
experienced it.
Yes.
So it's easy to fathom at that point. And it is helpful to have science, you know, all the, like the videos that you just watched that I sent
Mm.
you, that where you see the research and what the outcomes of that research was. And then it sure helps change your
Yeah,
mindset.
so I think science really, and even quantum entanglement, I think it's a wonderful way. That's science
We're
of
going to take it.
connecting to consciousness. So I think there are a lot of ways modern science can be very useful. Now, especially in this age, I think that's what we have really. And even systems biology, looking at the connectivity, we can either do it just to publish a paper, or we can do it where we actually want to experience that connectivity, the collective consciousness in our body and our mind, in our whole being.
I
So that
love
is, the
it.
choice is yours. For each of us, we have to make that choice.
Yes. Amen. Hallelujah. That's good. I love it. Well, thank you, Dr. Nandini. It's been so great talking to you. Will you come back and speak with me again sometime?
Oh, I'd love to. I
Oh,
love
good.
talking. And,
Good.
especially when you're not only receptive, but you interact. I mean, I like that. Several of my students are like that. So it's great.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
that